Welcome back, everyone. I just finished a very good but disturbing memoir. Inside the Gas Chambers, 8 Months in the Sonderkommando of Auschwitz by Shlomo Venezia. Mr. Venezia was a Greek man. He was a young man, and he opens up the book by talking about the Nazis taking over the surrounding lands, and many of the Jewish people and others that were being persecuted wanting to hold down the fort, so to speak. They didn't want to leave. They wanted to stay in a land that was rightfully theirs. Mr. Venezia's family stays at home, and they're ultimately put into a ghetto, and from there they're transported to the death camp of Auschwitz. He talks a lot about what happens in Auschwitz with the particular job that he had there. Upon selection, many of the prisoners in Auschwitz were immediately executed and cremated. Because Mr. Venezia was an able-bodied young man capable of work, hard work, very hard work, he was allowed to take on the job in the Sonderkommando, which were a group of prisoners that did the horrifying jobs forced upon them by the Nazis, and in return, they got to live another day because of their hard work. Mr. Venezia's job was in the crematoria, and it was his job to take dead bodies of his own people, put them into the crematoria, and then when they were done cremating, he would take the ashes and bones out and spread them in the lake and bury the bones in the grounds of Auschwitz. Very horrifying job, especially with his own people, and I kept thinking as I was reading how horrifying it would have been to do that, knowing that at any time you could be the one going in to that crematoria. Very hard to sleep at night it must have been, not only in the conditions, but with this particular job. Boy, it would have been very, very troubling indeed. Mr. Venezia goes on to talk about the camp of Auschwitz, the unique job that he had. I think that this is the only memoir written by a Sonderkommando personnel that was working in one of the crematoria. I could be wrong, but I think that he says that in this book. Very good book. He talks about many of the horrifying atrocities that took place at Auschwitz. And, you know, I thought I knew it all because I have read several of these, but I learned a lot from this. A very unique perspective he had of this camp with the unique job that he was given. The form of the book takes place with an interviewer interviewing someone. Here's a question asked by the interviewer. So at the age of 12, you had to look after yourself and leave school to get a job. This is in the beginning, before he goes to Auschwitz. And then he gives an answer, and for a couple of pages he answers, and then another question is asked. And I didn't think I would like that format at first, but it really did work. It really did work. The interviewer asked a lot of really good questions. Just when I'm thinking of a question I would like to ask this man, she asks it in the book. This book is not very long. It's just over 200 pages, and it's jam-packed with a lot of information. This is the most troubling thing that I have ever read about. The Nazi regime, not only at Auschwitz, but at many other camps, were doing just horrifying things, troubling, and I won't go into those any further. This is a great book. I'm going to give it 5 stars out of 5. Not often do I give a 5-star review. There's a lot covered here in this short period, and although it's disturbing, it's just so interesting that I couldn't put it down. You know, with this kind of thing, it's so beyond comprehension that although I know that it really happened, it's so troubling that a part of my mind just almost can't accept it, even though I know that it literally happened. Such a troubling thing. If you've already read some of these, feel free to read this one. It's a very unique perspective, and I believe that it will be different from other books of this nature that you have read. If you haven't read anything, start here. Very good book, doesn't take long to finish. Good introduction to this kind of thing. This book, I give it 5 stars. It's very easy to read. It's very troubling. It's graphic, I will tell you. But also a very satisfying, informative read, and well written at that. Shlomo Venezia's Inside the Gas Chambers, 8 months in the Sonderkommando of Auschwitz. You get a really unique perspective from a Sonderkommando survivor in this book. I urge you to read this one. 5-star review, folks. Read it.